Guys, this new title update has been pretty insane. High rank Shia has been so fun. His gear and weapons have been really fun to experiment with. And on top of that, there's been some expansions to some gear. So it lets me make what I like to call the Wyrmblaze Trigger build. Basically, you are now able to get the Convert Charm 2, which lets you easily slot in 3 levels of it. So people get a little confused on how Convert Element works. Basically, when you take element damage, you have about 2 minutes of a window where you will get increased dragon damage, and you will proc for a decent chunk of dragon damage. It's different for every weapon, but for bow I know it's about 310, and that'll proc a decent amount. The Shia weapons have this ability called White Flame Torrent. Now that will proc a 50, honestly, very frequently. When you have both of those going off at the same time, that's a lot of extra damage, especially if it's weak to dragon. So the 220 raw on the bow that we got is a little low, especially compared to a perfect rolled Artian, so you're not going to be like top of speed running, but the procs definitely make up for a lot of the DPS, and it looks amazing. As you can tell from the back pose here, we'll go around going for the whole seraphim multiple wings and multiple eyes look. The bow definitely helps. So basically, you got a little bit of a introduction to how the build works, but let's go through some little bit of an explanation for you. So if we go to the training settings, we're gonna make it to where it'll knock us back. And make it strong. So basically, how this build works is it works off a couple of key elements. Convert element will proc on taking element damage. With bow, you get a perfect dodge. A perfect dodge will still have you take or consider taking element damage, will proc your adrenaline rush, and if the attack would knock you back, like a lot of attacks Shia has, it'll proc counter strike. So with this build, proccing a perfect dodge is going to give you a lot of extra damage. Counter strike is about 25 damage, adrenaline rush is 10, and you're always going to have burst up for about a solid 8. So with everything up, if you keep perfect dodging, and as you can tell right now, I got 408 dragon. So power coding on here. So let's get a dodge here. I always mess up my dodges when I'm trying to record it. Yep, but those counter strike. So we're at 265. Those 50s are already proccing again. As you can see, we want to be looking out for those 310s. And those 50s proc like crazy. Basically, there's a hidden bar, like a status, and when it builds up, it procs that 50 pretty much like the last. There's that 310 right there. And I mean, I've gotten a good close to 500 damage off these freaking White Flame Torrent procs. There's another one right there. It actually does really good damage. So let's go over the pieces. It is actually pretty approachable and easy to build. So if you really want to get technical, I'm not going into Artian weapons. Having to roll a perfect roll, you know, is fun, but whatever. The Guardian Arcveld bow is insane. It's got 2 3 slots and a 1 slot and 2 points of focus. 240 raw is really good, and with a ranged weapon, the affinity being negative really doesn't matter. Affinity is really easy to get in this game, and you're going to be attacking the weak spots most of the time anyways. So for 240 raw and 2 focus, really good. The dragon gets boosted up by Convert Element. It's decent. We have the Arc Vulcan Helm Beta, the Arc Vulcan male beta, and that'll give you the hasten recovery, which is really good. We got the Guardian Arc Veld Van Braces. I think one of the best gloves in the game. Just 2 weakness exploit and some 1 slots to finish off a lot of builds. Really good. And you cannot go wrong with the 2-piece Gormagala set, the coil and the boots. For decorations, in the bow, I have a spread jewel, and I fill it out with dragon attack, because the dragon attack naturally is pretty low, even with convert element. If you want to, you can replace it with the bandolier jewel for more range, if you're having trouble hitting Zoshia's wings, but I prefer the dragon element. For the helm, the ones that are mandatory are well, really the only one in the helm that's mandatory is Tenderizer. In the chest, you want to put a burst jewel, and it's another flexible one. In the arms, you want to have 3 physiques. The coil, you want a Tenderizer and a flex jewel. You definitely want to put a counterattack jewel in the boots, and you want the 2 sane jewels to finish off the antivirus, so you get that affinity boost. Just to recap it, the 2-piece gore set will give you 25% affinity once you beat the frenzy virus, if you have antivirus 3. And with weakness exploit 5, that is 60% affinity with the 5% affinity the weapon has. So it's actually pretty decent. So the reason I say these 2 slots are flex is because it really depends on how good you are at the bow and how comfortable you are. For me, Zoshia specifically, when I'm getting hit by his big attacks, Counter-Strike is always going to be up. And that is 25 raw, and that is huge. So I'm able to get a lot of extra damage, a lot of extra flinches out of it. For instance, if you're having trouble with stamina, let's go over to the chest right quick. If you're having trouble with stamina, you can always put 3 refresh jewels in. 10 points for 1 2 slot is really good too, so you could also do a combination of 2 stamina surge and 1 counter strike, which is something I experiment with, but I've kind of enjoyed the extra 15 raw. It just is a lot of damage over time. You could even go with evade window. That'll make this build good because you are trying to get the convert element and adrenaline rush kind of thing going on. So that's an option, but I prefer counter strike for sure. So yeah, this build's really not good into too many matchups. Anything weak against dragon, it's really strong against, especially like, you know, Guardian Rathalos, Rathian. A lot of the Guardian monsters are pretty decently weak to dragon, but this build is basically a Zoshia just counter build. You can do a lot of damage to him. You can proc his big burst on his wings. And if you're focusing the head, you can kind of just bring this weapon the whole time. You don't really have to worry about fire or switching weapons. And yeah, it does an insane amount of damage. But yeah, guys, that's definitely wanted to show that off, and just want to see what you guys think. I'm definitely going to have some more builds in the future, and if you have any build suggestions, just let me know down in the comments, and I'll definitely give them a thought. Alright, man. Well, you guys.